What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for November 4th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Monday edition of the podcast of Victory Monday. Wasn't a pretty victory, but a victory nonetheless. 28-23, Eagles beat Dougie P and the Jaguars. Let's just get right into this. And obviously, we lost our bet. We're 4-4 on the season. Should have won it easily. More on that in a minute. But I called for a walk in the park, and this certainly was not a walk in the park. It started off as a walk in the park, and then all of a sudden we got lost in that park. And I know a lot of people were pissed off and upset about this, but breathe for a second, because this, to me, is not even on the same level as the Cleveland game. I walked out of that stadium after the Cleveland game feeling like they lost. There was enough positives in this game to really to walk away from it and feel confident and feel good moving forward. Now, does that mean it was all good? No, not even in the least. I feel as though they won in spite of Nick Sirianni's decision-making. They scored in the first quarter, so you got that going for us. But I feel like this is the perfect game, that it was the good, the bad, and the ugly. So the good, Jalen Hurts was good again. Was he perfect? No. He's not going to be perfect. He never probably will be perfect, but he did not turn the ball over. He missed a couple throws, but that ball to Saquon was good. The ball to Devontae Smith was good. He finally started running. And I think moving forward, that was one of my takeaways. If he sees lanes the way he did yesterday and is going to continue to run and then be smart with it and go out of bounds, I'm okay with that. So I'll take that. Saquon was just the stud that he's been all year. That run was like a Madden-like run, like hitting the buttons at the same time and then glitched where he jumped over backwards. Like, it was insane. So Saquon was good. Devontae had some big catches. That I've easily the best catch of the season, possibly one of the best catches I've ever seen an Eagle make. And I think a little comic relief was when they went to do the chest bump and Kenny Gainwell completely knocked him down. I was laughing at that. Defense, for the most part, did their job. They put pressure on Lawrence. They came up with 2 big turnovers. Zach Bond is just hopefully he doesn't price himself out of coming back to the Eagles next year. But defensively, they were good. I think the secondary, we talked about it on my one text chain. Usually, it's your defensive line that helps your secondary out. In this team, the secondary, because of their coverage, and yes, the Jags were shorthanded, but the coverage is helping the pass rush out. So I think all of that was good. And then you have the bad. Nick Sirianni. And I was all set and ready to come on here and really come on and rip Nick. And I took a step back. And last week, I was all about giving Nick credit for the winning streak. I still think he deserves credit for that. I'm not taking that away. But I started questioning it and thinking about it. And I haven't heard anybody ask this, and maybe it has been asked and I missed it. But a lot of the decisions he made were based on analytics. So is that someone from up above telling Nick to follow the analytics chart? Or is this Nick doing it on his own? Because I feel if it's coming from up above, I mean, it's one of those things. And I deal with it all the time in my job. And I know there's people that I work with listening, so I'm not going to mention names or specifics. But there's a ton of policies that every year I don't agree with. But I have to put on the good show. I have to go to my teachers and say, this is what we're doing. So if the analytic department is telling Nick and Howie and Jeff are all on board with this, maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but I don't know. There's something not right about that. But if it is Nick Sirianni and he's the one that's doing it, it's very Gabe Kapler-esque. And if you remember, Gabe, no matter what, This is where his pitch count is. We're taking him out, even if it's in the middle of a batter. I think what Nick missed yesterday was you got to have a feel for the game. And I saw a couple people post this, and I kept saying it yesterday too, the situational awareness. So the first extra point that the Jags were either offsides or whatever it was, you don't take a point off the board. You're up 17-0. It's a 3-score game. All of a sudden, taking that point off, not getting the 2-point, it's a 2-score game. 3-score is a completely different situation. And we almost felt, and we were talking about this in another text chain, that they were chasing those 2 points the rest of the game, and it bit them in the ass. And luckily, Nakobe Dean came back. If this is Nick's decisions and not somebody from up above saying it's the analytics, follow them, he's a clown show. Like, you need to be aware of what's going on. And I think if you take all of those situations, there was 8, 9, some people were saying 12, whatever you want to say, points off the board, that's the difference in this game. And like I said, that first extra point, you don't take it off the board. You just could, because at that point it's 16-0. 18-0 doesn't do anything for you differently than what 17-0 does. And then you were chasing it. But some of those fourth downs, if they make it, great. Like, I don't mind him going for it on fourth down and being aggressive. However, you got to see and take it within the flow of the game. In the flow of this game, you were dominating. Your team was dominating this Jaguar team. So you put the points on the board and just keep, it doesn't matter, touchdowns, field goals, whatever. You put those points on the board. Jake Elliott is a great kicker. Why are you not using him? And then you put him in to kick a 57-yarder when he's cold. Like, you got it. Situational awareness, I think, is where Nick Sirianni fails sometimes. And when it goes well, it goes well. But I think in a close game, maybe next week in Dallas, the following week in Washington, going for some of those fourth downs and you get them and it changes momentum of the game, that's fine. But you were up 16-0, then 22-0. There's no need to get cute about it. Take the points and just make them give up. That Jaguar team was this close to giving up, and you blew it. So I feel like there's a difference between aggressive and stupid. And I think yesterday you weren't aggressive. You were just stupid. Like, don't go. Like, you took points off the board. You missed opportunities to extend the lead to multiple scores. And you saw it almost came back and bit you in the ass. I'm all about aggressive. Like, I am probably, my mindset is more go for it more often than not. However, situational awareness, you got to know what the game flow is dictating. And in this game, 3 points, an extra point here, all of that would have been huge against a team that's ready to give up. So I just, like I said, it was just stupid. And as much as I gave him credit for the 3-game winning streak, I'm certainly going to blame him for almost blowing this game yesterday, and it's got to improve. And then in his press conference, doubling down, that says, I have to have balls to go for that. No, you don't. You have to have brains to know not to do it. And it almost cost them the game, and they kept showing the stat, and I don't care about the stat, but he was like, oh, the Jaguars, all their games were by 5 points or less or whatever. They're a good team. They just can't put it together and finish games out, blah, 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 blah. No, that game should have been a walk in the park, like I said, and the coach blew it. And then you got the ugly. The referees. Like, I saw the explanation, the written explanation. They said because Saquon touched his offensive lineman, it gave him some semblance of regaining balance, or I forget, whatever. It was just dumb. The bottom line is Saquon is not going to run into his offensive lineman if the guy didn't trip him. So he should have been down. And that, you take that touchdown off the board, that changed the entire momentum of the game. It gave the Jacksonville Jaguars confidence. And take that off the board, it's a 28-16 game. So, or whatever, 28-7, I forget the way Dougie P went for 2 as well. So that was just ugly. And the explanation was even more ridiculous than the call. Nobody None of the announcers, even Gene Stesator, or however you say his last name, the rules expert, said, I don't see it. Like, it was just a bad call that almost also cost the Eagles a game. And then there were some injuries. AJ hurt his knee, tried to put weight on it. Apparently, after halftime, couldn't do it. So we'll find out more today. Fred Johnson went out. I don't know what's up with him. Just a lot. We'll find out more today, but that was the ugly. So the good, Jalen, Saquon, Devontae, Nakobe Dean, the defense. Jalen's running the ball, all good. The bad, the coaching. Like, come on, dude. Like, you literally almost cost us the game. You got to be smarter. And there's a difference, again, between aggressive and stupid. And yesterday you were just stupid. And then the ugly were the injuries and the refs. Let's go back and revisit the 3 keys to the game. I said avoid the trap. The Eagles avoided the trap barely. They avoided the trap and then almost set their own trap, but we'll take it. I said pass on them early and often. Jalen threw for 230 yards, 2 touchdowns. He looked good passing the ball. A couple of those throws were amazing. The one, I guess it was the 3rd down where he zipped it in there to Devontae, was one of the best throws I've seen him make under pressure over the middle. It did set up the run. Saquon had a monster game. He's just a ridiculous player. And then pressure Lawrence. And I think the defense did a good job pressuring Lawrence. They contained him for the most part, minus a drive or 2. They sacked him twice, intercepted him twice. And it did seem like they were getting a decent pass rush and putting him under pressure. And I have to mention, especially in the Kelly Green jerseys, Jalen Carter reminds me so much of Jerome Brown. Oh, my God. And we talked about this, too, on the one text chain, just how good they look in the Kelly Green jerseys. And I realized that when we were growing up watching the Eagles in Kelly Green, we didn't have HD TV, man. It's just sharp on the TV. But a win is a win. We'll take it. We lost our bet. That should have been a walk in the park. That was the right pick, right side. The coach just blew it. But a win is a win. We will take it. We're 6-2. It is officially Dallas week. Well, not officially. It'll be officially after the game ends tonight. But it is Dallas week, so we'll have more on the Eagles-Cowboys coming up. But we'll take it. But, Nick, you got to get better. Hopefully we get some good news coming more for our injury on the injury front. But that leads to today's question of the day. Who is your GOAT of the game? Is it Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, or Nakobe Dean? 267-495-8531. That'll get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Who gets it? I got to go Saquon on this one because he just was dominant. You can make the argument for Jalen, Nakobe, mainly because of that interception. You could also throw Devontae in there, but really it comes down to Jalen or Saquon. Who's your go-to the game? Hit me up on social media. Call or text me on the Back to the Future voice and text line, 267-495-8531. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off your chest? Want to vent about the coach? Now's your time to do it. We'll call this Therapy Monday on a Victory Monday. Only in Philadelphia do we need therapy after a win. All right, let's do some quick housekeeping. Follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont, Twitter and TikTok. On Instagram, at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Spread the word. If you're enjoying this, somebody else in your circle of friends will too. So pass it on. Let's outsmart the algorithm. And then the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame Heritage Collection is now available online. That's the project I've been working on. Click the link in the description, and that will take you to the website and give you access to the online archives. Have some fun with that. It's a constantly evolving thing, so check back early and often, and we're going to have some fun with that in the next coming months. Quick reminder, too, coming up in a couple weeks, we're going to start our 2nd annual gift and food drive. We're going to do it in 2 parts this year. We'll do the gift card drive. I have a GoFundMe set up. All the information will be coming out shortly for that, just trying to finalize flyers and things like that. And then we'll do our reverse advent calendar. So details coming soon for that, but just kind of mark it on your calendar. November 17th, that will kick off, and all proceeds will benefit the Maddie N. Dixon Community Cupboard in Ambler. Be sure to check out my boys at the Clashing Conferences. They're doing good things over there. That is available wherever you get your podcasts and now on YouTube. The college episodes are kicking off, doing football and basketball as the college basketball season kicks off. More on that in a minute. And then go to Philly Goat, get one of those cooler bags, get your Victory Monday t-shirt from Philly Goat. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. They got you covered. It's never too early at this point. Mariah Carey says it's the Christmas season, so start your holiday shopping now. Go to Philly Goat, use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All right, Sixers. This whole Embiid thing really has me irritated because I think three people are to blame. Joe, Marcus Hayes, and then the Sixers too. Joe, you got to control your emotions better. It's never okay to hit somebody. I get it. And I heard some people on the radio yesterday, and I don't necessarily disagree. I likely would have done the same thing. Doesn't mean it's right, but I get it. But you got to be better and smarter because now you're going to get suspended, and this team needs you. Marcus Hayes, you're an idiot. Absolutely idiot. He shouldn't have been in the locker room anyway. And again, I talk all the time about how he tries to make the story about him, and this is the perfect example of it. He's a moron. I hate him. I don't like any, I hate his takes. I hate his columns. And he just, again, trying to insert himself into the story, and there's no need for it. And the Sixers, why would you let him in the locker room? Take away his credentials or set up a private meeting between him and Joe to hash it out. Like, that was just dumb on their part to even let him in there. And the reason I'm so hard on Marcus Hayes right now, too, is I've read, and I don't know because I haven't heard the actual video, I've read somewhere that he was saying, Joe said, I don't care what the media says about me, blah, blah, blah. And then Marcus Hayes, in his little wormy voice and wormy face, said, oh, but you do. Like, egging the situation on. You are not the story. You're not a good writer either. Like, your takes suck. Your column sucks. But this one's on the Sixers. They should not have let him in. Take away, his media credentials for a game, or set up something. Like, it was just a bad situation handled poorly by all three people involved. And, of course, the Sixers and us fans are the ones that are going to suffer for it. So thanks for that, Marcus. Thanks for that, Joel. And again, thanks for that, Sixers, for just not being smart. You want to talk about situational awareness? I think that's what we need to teach a class at CCP or Temple or one of the colleges on situational awareness, because Nick Sirianni certainly needs it. The Sixers need it. Marcus Hayes needs it. Joel Embiid needs it. Like, that's the word of the day. Boys and girls, the word of the day is situational awareness. Sixers are in Phoenix tonight, and it looks like Paul George might play. It looks like, barring a setback, he will play tonight, and Phoenix is good, so they're going to need it. Hopefully that changes the dynamic and opens things up more for the rest of the players, but we'll see what happens with that. All right, I mentioned Big Five basketball, college basketball kicks off tonight. All 6 teams in the Big Five. I know, doesn't make any sense, but all 6 teams are in action. Let's do a little quick Big Five preview. It's been 2 years since a Big Five team has made it to the NCAA tournament. Could this be the year? There are some candidates that could make it. Let's start with St. Joe's. This could be the best team in the Big Five this year. Eric Reynolds is back. He could be the best player in the A10 Player of the Year. Xavier Brown, who was the A10 Freshman of the Year, is back. They have the experience and the talent to make a run. They're picked 3rd in the A10, so they should be right there near one of the teams that could get the automatic bid. But there are some people out there that have them as a sexy pick for an at-large bid. So St. Joe's could be the class of the Big Five this year. Then we got Villanova, who usually has been in recent years the class of the Big Five. They are the last Big Five team to make the tournament. Eric Dixon is back for his 5th year at Villanova. Hopefully some of the other guys can step up. But I think this is Kyle Neptune's year. He's coaching for his career, or for his job. His seat is extremely hot. Their 3rd straight year of not making the tournament, I think he might be gone. they're the biggest question in the Big Five. Like, certainly they could be the best team in the Big Five, but they're obviously, the Big East is a tough conference. They were a bubble team last year, couldn't get a big win down the stretch. They have some good additions, but they need to be better than they were last year. They need to win some of those games down the stretch that they lost. They're currently picked 7th in the Big East. In order to save Kyle Neptune's job, I think they got to finish higher than 7th in the Big East, because I don't know if 7th is going to get you into the tournament. You're going to be right back where you were. And then my Temple Owls kick it off tonight against, I think it's Sacred Heart. They struggled last year throughout the regular season, and then they had that magical run to the AAC championship game. They had the gambling scandal that went on. They have a great class coming in. They should be the best Temple team that they've had in a while. They're picked 6th in the AAC. I think if things come together, they could finish higher than that. The biggest question for them is Lynn Greer III has been suspended for some stuff that happened at St. Joe's. So he's missing the first 9 games of the season. So I don't know. Like, can they survive that? If they can survive that, Temple could get hot and make a run at the tournament, at the AAC title this year as well. Then you have the next 3, LaSalle. They have a new arena, but they're picked to finish last in the A10. Fran Dunphy certainly has his work cut out for him. I find it hard to believe that a Fran Dunphy team is going to hit last place, but we'll see. Lots of questions for the LaSalle Explorers. They lost a lot this year, but they are opening that new arena. I was looking at some pictures of it. It looks pretty spiffy. Drexel is a complete overhaul. NIL has killed them. They just don't have the funding and the sources to get guys in. They're picked 11th in the CAA. Maybe they can get together for some March Magic. Usually they tend to get it together, but they have their work cut out for them as well. And then Penn is picked 7th in the Ivy. Steve Donahue thinks they can contend, but nobody else does. So you have to like his confidence that he feels they should be contending for the Ivy League championship. So we'll see what happens, but the season kicks off today. All 6 teams in action tonight. Looking forward to it. November 12th, 15th, 16th, 19th, and 30th are the Big 5 Classic pod games for all the teams. And then the Big 5 Classic is December 7th down at the Wells Fargo Center. I might try to go down there. It's always a lot of fun watching college basketball, especially when it's the local teams. And it's a fun thing. I know I don't think it'll ever bring back the magic of the old school Big 5, but we'll see. It is a good time, but the Big 5 should be much better. St. Joe's, Nova, and Temple should have decent teams and be fun to watch. Hopefully Dunphy can do something at LaSalle. Drexel is always a question mark until they get to the conference tournament, and then they always seem to go on a run. Steve Donahue likes his Penn team, so if Steve Donahue likes it, hey, I'll root for the Quakers. My wife works at Penn anyway, so hey, maybe we get some tickets down to the Palestra this year. But let me know, who do you like in the Big 5 this year? 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. Let's have some fun with college basketball as the season kicks off tonight. All right, yesterday we did an Eagles doubleheader. Today, we're going to do a Flyers doubleheader. And first, we're going to go back to 1967. And on this day in 1967, Flyers beat the Canadiens 4-1. Leon Rochefort had the first hat trick in Philadelphia Flyers team history in that 4-1 win over the Canadiens. Bernie Parent saved 33 of 34 shots. Rochefort was a pick in the expansion draft for the Flyers that year, led them in goals in the 67-68 season. That was his only season in the orange and black, but he gets credit for the Flyers' first ever hat trick on this day in 1967. And then we're going to go 5 years later to 1972. And on this day in 1972, Flyers beat the Sabres 5-3. Bill Barber had a goal and 3 assists. That goal was his first NHL goal. He would go on to add 419 more throughout his 12-year Flyers career. He is in the Hockey Hall of Fame. He is the Flyers' all-time leader in goals, and his number 7 is hanging in the rafters as he is one of the all-time greats and a huge part of those Broad Street Bullies Stanley Cups. So Flyers doubleheader today. In 1967, they beat the Canadiens 4-1. Leon Rochefort with the first ever hat trick in Philadelphia Flyers team history. And then in 1972, legendary Flyer Bill Barber scored his first career goal en route to 420 in his career, becoming the Flyers all-time leader and having his number 7 set in the rafters. All right, we've had a big show so far. However, today's 2024 Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame inductee spotlight is on one of the all-time greats in Philadelphia, and that is Paul Westhead, basketball coach. He is a West Catholic graduate, but he made his name as a coach at multiple different levels, from college to the NBA, WNBA, and all he did wherever he went was win. He played 4 years at St. Joe's as a guard. He played on their teams that made it, the 61 team made it to the Final Four. He played on their first ever team to advance in the NCAA tournament. So he was a role player on those teams, but he was on that 61 Final Four team for the St. Joe's Hawks. But again, we know Paul Westhead from his coaching, and he has over 40 years of coaching at various different levels, and all he did was win wherever he went. 575 career wins at all levels and all stops. Started off at Cheltenham High School, where he led them to the PIAA final in 1968, then went to LaSalle before going to the NBA, and he coached the Los Angeles Lakers. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied over that because it still brings back bad memories, even though I was 2 years old. But he coached the Lakers to the 1980 championship over the Sixers. He was best known during that finals run for putting Magic Johnson at center in Game 6. The Sixers just did not have an answer, and Magic just went off. He also coached Chicago and Denver as well. From there, he went to Loyola Marymount, and where he implemented a run-and-gun style and turned the Loyola Marymount team into a national contender with Bo Kimball and Hank Gathers. Went to George Mason after that, but he wasn't done when he was done at the college ranks. Went to the WNBA and led the Phoenix Mercury to the 2007 WNBA championship. Finished out his career at Oregon as their women's head coach. He coached 3 consensus All-Americans during his tenure: Hank Gathers, Bo Kimball, and Ken Durrett. And then he's in the Loyola Marymount Hall of Fame. And on November 7th, Paul Westhead will join the all-time greats in Philadelphia sports. And when he is inducted into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame, joining his St. Joe's brethren, Jameer Nelson. Looking forward to that. You want more information on the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame, click the link in the description. But Paul Westhead, a phenomenal coach at many different levels. All he did was win. Is today's 2024 Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame inductee spotlight. Looking forward to meeting him as well. Loved him, especially growing up with the Loyola Marymount team. I was thoroughly enthralled in that whole run. Unfortunately, Hank Gathers passed away. And the job he did keeping that team together and making that run to the Elite Eight is just phenomenal. I keep looking over there because one of my all-time favorite books was the For You, Hank book written by Bo Kimball that really talked about the recruiting process that Westhead did with those guys and how he presented them with a vision and they bought into it. So I would highly suggest that book. But Paul Westhead, shout out to you. Today's 2024 Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame inductee spotlight. On this day in 1967, Leon Rochefort scored the first hat trick in Flyers team history in a 4-1 win over the Canadiens. And then in 1972, Bill Barber scored his first NHL goal in a 5-3 win over the Sabres. Let me know your thoughts on the Big Five this year. If you have any, who's your pick to be the best team in the Big Five? Also, let me know your thoughts on Sirianni. Who's the GOAT of the game? Is it Jalen, Saquon, Nakobe? lots to talk about. The whole Joe versus Marcus Hayes, who's right, who's wrong. Again, I don't condone the violence. I think that's wrong. Not saying I wouldn't have done it too, but doesn't mean it's right. But the Sixers, come on, you have to have better situational awareness and not let Marcus Hayes in that locker room without some type of security or something. You had to have known that Joe was pissed. You had to know that Marcus Hayes, the weasel that he is going to run his mouth. So you have to be better, Sixers, on that as well. But let me know your thoughts on any of that. The Back to the Future voice and text line is wide open, 267-495-8531. Get your thoughts out on lots to talk about it. And as I said yesterday, I think we just continue to keep going with it. It's the Real Housewives of Philadelphia sports. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for November 4th, 2024. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourself some Monday. Believe it or not, it is a Victory Monday. So at least we got that going for us. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.